Welcome to the Marketing Millennials, the No BS Marketing Podcast. I'm Daniel Murray, and join me for unfiltered conversations with the brains behind marketing's coolest companies. The one request I tell our guests, stories or it didn't happen. Get ready to turn the up. Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Millennial Podcast. I am here with Lindsey McFadden, CMO of Stretch Zone. Lindsey's been telling me for months and months and months I need to get stretched out because I keep complaining about my back. And I still haven't done that. And flexibility is probably one of my weakest points. Even when I had played college football, I had this, you put out a report on player report and it says needs to work on flexibility. So I should get stretched out. But thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Listen, everybody says you can benefit from stretching, whether you're an athlete or not, your doctor, your physical therapist, your personal trainer. Stretching can help everyone. So I don't know what you're waiting for.
Could you give me the story how you got into marketing first, and then we'll get into Stretch Zone?
Yeah. Went to college, thought I wanted to be an English major. Didn't. Decided I really like the psychology behind business and understanding why and how people buy things. And that kind of led to one of two angles, marketing or advertising. I wanted to go more of the corporate route. So decided instead of agency life, I was going to choose marketing as my major and kind of then double down from there. Thought I originally wanted to do hospitality marketing. Then I realized the only thing really that never closes are hotels, and working on Christmas and New Year's and Thanksgiving and every holiday for all time did not sound great. But I kind of always liked the lifestyle and wellness space. And so after a few turns, that's kind of how I've landed here at Stretch Zone.
I concur. And my wife is in e-commerce and every major thing happens on holidays. So it's just a great time to have a wife in e-commerce. So it's so funny. It's like, could we do something over Thanksgiving? No. Could we maybe do something after this? No, we're running a holiday campaign. Okay. So Stretch Zone, basically created this category of practitioner assisted stretching. So you're now the largest in the space. What does it actually mean to market a category you created?
Yeah, I mean, it's a different animal, right? It started with almost exclusive educational content because if it doesn't exist, people don't know what it is. And so when we started, and to this day, our kind of forever offer is your first stretch is free because we believe in our service so much that we also understand that you can't assign value to a service you've never experienced. So if I told you a stretch was $10 or $100, is that a good deal? Well, you don't know because you don't really know what we do. And so that educational piece coupled with the kind of free sampling, if you will, it's not Costco on a Sunday, but allowing people to come in and experience it for themselves with no barrier to entry was really critical in the educational piece of bringing that awareness, not just to the brand, but to the category and the service.
Okay, so you have the category side, but you also have it's a franchise business and you're marketing to people who want to open a franchise and are opening a franchise. So could you explain how it works to have that two different audience? One is you're trying to market this category, market stretching, have a brand on Stretch Zone, but also you're trying to get new people to open this in places that need this service.
Yeah, I'll tell you, there's also a third. So first, when we started, it was just about marketing the service. We grew organically through, I'd say, 200 locations. We never did any advertisement for franchise sales. It was truthfully just word of mouth. Studios would open in a neighborhood, somebody would become a member, and so much of our growth actually came from members experiencing it oh, wow, I want to open one for myself. And so it really was the education piece. Now we have kind of two different buckets, if you would call it silos, of telling the corporate story around the unit level economics and the four-wall structure and why Stretch Zone is such a great entry point for first-time entrepreneurs. Unlike restaurants or food, there's no waste, there's no spoilage, moving inventory. Your real only overhead is your rent and your employees, your labor cost. And so it is such a simple business that we really attract a lot of first-time entrepreneurs and people that buy multi-units. So like 93% of our owners own multiple locations. And so that synergy in market really also lends itself to kind of that organic growth. So that's kind of how we think of the corporate side. But on the consumer side, I don't just have people that want to get stretched like you that need to come in. I also have my franchisees I need to market to. I need to get them on board with what we're doing and the vision and the marketing for the brand that they've bought into. So it's really two layers. I'm marketing to them about promotions or new things that we're doing, but then also to their customers.
Yeah, I want to go into that too, because I think one of the hardest gaps in franchise marketing is like the gap between what you as Stretch Zone wants and what the franchisee wants to do. And then there's like an issue where someone could potentially go rogue in brand or what they're doing. So how do you get the franchisees to trust the playbook you're running for them?
They still do go rogue. And a lot of blood, sweat, and tears is the short answer. No, but I think if they're going rogue, the way I look at it and the way I tell my team to look at it is they're scratching an itch that we're not scratching. So I believe that we've got all the things under the sun, at their disposal. But if they're not using them or they're doing something else, it's clear that they've identified, whether right, wrong, or indifferent, some need or a want that they don't feel like we're fulfilling. So let's have a conversation about it. I think that we have exceedingly good relationships with our owners. I've worked in other franchise brands in the past, and that is not always the case. But really open and honest communication is really the stem of that. Because if you're going rogue, here's the thing, I can whip out the compliance book and cite fines or stuff, but what are we accomplishing here, right? That's an adversarial relationship. That's not going to get the end goal. If you're doing something rogue in marketing, conceivably, you're trying to market your service in a way that we are not. So let's talk about it. Maybe you have a great idea that we haven't tried and we can test it and then use it at scale. That's happened too. So I think open communication, over communicating, and communicating in ways that resonate with your target audience. Because as a franchisees, we have some franchisees that are very young, tech savvy, in their 20s. Best way to communicate them is via text. And then I have some older franchisees that are retired that want everything in an outlined email with 2 weeks notice and a reply email. So making sure that our content, whether it's new initiatives or promos or just information, is meeting them where they are, text, email, video, live call. That's how we get that buy-in.
And I know you came in when there was, I would say, 5x less locations that you are now. Maybe,
Originally I came in between, there was I think 60-ish when I first came into the brand, and now we're at 425.
So what was the day one things that you were, when you came in, that you started to implement that you saw there was a gap in what they're doing now that you needed to fill, when you started at 60 to get, and then obviously the follow-up question would be what is now the issue now that you're at 415 locations and you have, if I'm not wrong, 0 closures ever of any of locations as well.
So far. Yeah.
So that's a hard stat too. That's a big stat too, because most, a lot of franchise businesses have closures every year.
So I think, to answer the first question, the answer is everything. Because when I came in, there was nothing. And I said, holy shit, I have to get a handle on this. And so it was literally streamlining and standardizing, just starting at social profiles, then Google business profiles, then having an email marketing tool, because none of this existed. The brand, when I came in, we had a joke of a website, Groupon, and some direct mailers. And that was marketing at Stretch Zone. And in spite of that, we had highly successful studios that are very profitable because the common thread was they were all really a fabric of the communities that they served. They were involved in neighborhood things. They were showing up at 5K races and community parks and the green market, and wherever the community was, Stretch Zone was. And so I said, okay, great. How do we now standardize this and get a hold on it so that we can really amplify that? And, that's when we kind of started with the page structure, understanding the kind of parent-child relationship we needed to set up with all the pages and the accounts, wrangling them. Literally, I will tell you, it wasn't until like 2 years ago that we had all of them. And some of it was only, when a store would transact and sell to a new owner, then we would be able to incorporate it into the fold from some of the OG rogue stuff. But it was really bringing that standardization into place and having the tools and processes. Because otherwise, talk about rogue, like that's wild. And then now, we have, as of now, we have no closures. And I think it's been for a few reasons. One, we have a really solid product that resonates in the consumer mind. This is not a fad. This is not some like fly-by-night organization. We have a patented shopping system. We have all these protocol-driven stretches that enable system-wide access. You can use your membership at any location nationwide. So we're really trying to meet the consumer where they are and enjoy. I mean, I don't know about you, like the only long-term contract I have is my mortgage, right? I want to be month to month. That's life these days, Netflix, Prime, whatever it is. And so I think we've tried to evolve the business to meet the consumer where they are over the years, as opposed to just staying stuck in our ways. And also when it comes to closures, we have seen some consolidation. People buying up other stores, ones or twos that are in market so that they can own a whole market. And so we do see a lot of that happening now, which I think is pretty normal for this stage of maturation of a franchise brand.
I also want to go into the market pressure that's happening right now, because I know consumers are spending less than ever before. Also on like discretionary expenses like wellness is probably hard. How's your marketing changed during this time where people aren't necessarily spending on things that aren't necessarily seen as a necessity for their day to day?
I'll tell you that our service is a necessity for a good portion of our member base. Like people that have mobility issues or disabilities that they can't get out of bed unaided. They can't tie their shoes. And so having that 2-3 times a week stretch routine really is their quality of life. So it's a non-negotiable for them. So while for sure we're not an essential service, for a subset of our member base, we really are essential to their lives. And then I think when we see a compression in spending, I think like everybody, there's different seasonalities and cyclical nature of things. We try to do promos that matter to the consumer, right? If you're not looking for a membership, we do, a package offer to get people in to sample it and really low commitment entry into the brand, things like that. But I also think, I know it sounds like maybe elementary or routine, but we do one thing and one thing only. And that is a really damn good stretch. All these other concepts that I see that have this kind of fad nature, it's hot therapy, then cold therapy, then red light, then blue light, then green light, and all these things in one place. And then they're going to give you a massage and maybe some Botox on the side. And then you don't know, like, what am I going here for, right? When you're going to a stretch zone, you're going literally for one thing and one thing only. And staying true to that, I think truthfully has insulated us a bit from market volatility and consumer trends changing.
I also want to know, because with local marketing, every community is like different, and everywhere you go, there's different events and maybe different cultural things that are going, especially in the US. What are things that are like, that you see are the same marketing tactics that you could use on every single local marketing, that if you're doing local marketing right now, you should invest in these 1, 2, 3 things because every local marketing should be doing this?
Yeah, I think what we try to say is 80% the same, like in our franchise space. The playbook, what we're doing, no matter if you're in Minnesota, South Florida, California, it should be 80% the same, right? In Minnesota in January, you're probably not doing golf tournaments, but in South Florida, that's like the end all be all, right? So I think what we try to do is allow for customization that really our owners drive or their staff in location because they know that market better than we do or that I ever will sitting in an office, right? But we try to give the tools and the playbook for that. I think it's a mixture of paid digital where we can drive demand and target really, really well from what we know our consumer base is, coupled with that local presence. And you can't replicate that, right? Being present in studio and in market is paramount. And we tell that to all of our owners and operators, whether it's them or the designated person, the manager or the regional manager, whomever, that really makes sure that Stretch Zone is a fabric of the community that it serves.
What is your media mix look like as a franchise, as a franchise brand? Because I know that, everybody is feeling like costs are going up in the digital landscape of like Meta, Google, all that stuff. But what does like a media mix look like, or like a marketing mix between like digital events, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, we try to, when we do franchisee training, I give a pie chart example. And I want to say, this is marketing. It's not all one piece. And we kind of go through the different pieces. Paid digital is one for sure. Events, we do a lot on referrals, because our service just kind of is a natural referral business. When you feel good, it's like, oh, you have bad back? Have you tried Stretch Zone? The first one's free. So we really try to set up not just our app, but our members to really leverage referrals, which is such a good driver of new leads into the business. We're just kind of now dabbling into what I kind of call like micro partnerships with some local influencers in different markets. We just did this kind of big media launch in the beginning of the year, and Drew Brees is our brand partner and ambassador. So we use, his network and his reach to kind of spread the message. He came to us organically many years ago and really credits the longevity of his career to having a really solid recovery plan, of which stretching was part of. And so between paid digital, organic digital, events and grassroots in community marketing, a solid referral structure and plan in both in studio and in app, that's kind of how we think about our mix.
I love that. And I know what is like the foundation of a good like referral program? Like obviously the product is like, it has to be a product that people want, but like, what are some things that are you doing versus, for example, like email marketing, or when in store this is happening, or what is like the foundation to make sure that that flywheel keeps happening and people know there's a referral program and know that they can refer their friends and that flywheel just turns?
So in app, primarily for our current members, we're constantly focused on that. In studio, we have a lot of in-studio experience and signage focused on that. But truthfully, it comes down to the owners. Having member appreciation events that you can bring a friend to or a guest, giving free stretch parties. We have some owners that do, like dating myself. I know this is like the Millennial podcast. I think technically I'm a geriatric millennial. But back in the day, a la Mary Kay parties or Tupperware, our studios have done similar things where it's like, hey, we'll invite our members in with 10 of their friends and provide stretching and like a social hour for them. And that's a really organic, feel-good grassroots way that not just spreads the experience, but the referral strategy, because then those 10 or 12 people will then tell their friends or family. So I think really it comes down to in-studio experience and leveraging our current member base for that. You can imagine at 425 locations now, we've got quite a sizable member base. So it's really using the people that we have as our brand evangelists.
What do you see is the difference between a location that is crushing it and a location that is doing okay but needs help? Like, what is like the biggest through line to the ones that are crushing it versus not crushing it?
The owner's the mayor. Like the owner knows everybody. They're working with the nail salon next door, the Orange Theory around the corner. They're shaking hands and kissing babies. It all comes to the person. That is really the main differential. Our service and offering is so standardized that whether you're getting stretched in South Florida, California, or anywhere in between, the practitioners should be providing the exact same service. So like, when you walk into a place, does it have a good vibe? Do I want to come back? And so creating that culture at the studio level is really the main differentiator. If our owners or the manager in charge of the studio does a really good job of taking care of their people, then their people will take care of our members. They'll like coming to work. They're making a difference in people's lives. And that is the common thread. Obviously, this is not charity. We're here to run a business. But the people that are our best owners are passionate about helping people in some capacity. And I think that is just authentic, and that really comes through. We've got a store here in South Florida that the owner, literally, he was just on a podcast with the mayor. He goes to city council, that everybody's his best friend, and he's offering you, incredible hospitality when you walk in. That's really it. What we do is so simple. It's not complex at all. So really just focusing on the basics and having a great studio experience is where it's at.
I'm also interested in like the onboarding experience of for you as the marketing team to onboard it, because I get that maybe some of them understand marketing, but most people aren't marketers. They're getting into it because they think this is a great product, or they're trying to make an investment, or they believe their area needs one, but they're not like inherently marketers. So how do you, I know we talked about that's part of your role, but like what does it look like to market to people who don't get marketing?
It's a puzzle, let's say that. But most of our, we have a few franchisees that do have an extensive marketing background, but most don't. And I think what we try to do is do a lot of it for them on the corporate level. That's why you buy into a franchise, is because you pay a royalty that covers a lot of the national marketing. They wouldn't know overwhelmingly how to source local media, what to say, and how to even reach out to have, have in-studio news like show experiences and having reporters coming to studio to do features. And so we do that for them. So really all we ask our owners to do is really local events and business networking. And how do we do that is we give them playbooks and training. And I call it Fisher Price at the risk of sounding ignorant. If it's not Fisher Price easy, they're not going to do it. So I tell my team all the time, when you get your iPhone, you open the box, and you just know what to do. It turns on, it prompts you through, and all of a sudden your phone's working in 4 minutes, right? That's how we have to have our marketing playbooks. They have to be so turnkey that before they know it, they've done all the things they need to do, and they're off to the races. And so oversimplifying is really like the MO of the department. And that's how we see high adoption. If I give somebody some 87-page checklist or outline of things, they're not going to read it. They're not going to do it. They're going to just delete and move on.
Yeah, I just had this conversation about like just briefing influencers and stuff like that. And a lot of it, I'm like, you have to keep it brief. Like, I don't think like people, like I know myself, like if you're giving me a handbook or something like that, and it's 80 pages, I'm reading 5 of those pages maybe. And then I'm like burnt out of it.
You're going to upload it to chat. Tell me what are like the key takeaways, and miss probably some of what you actually need to read. Literally for all of our campaigns and stuff, we have a one-sheeter. I know it sounds so antiquated. 1 page, who, what, where, when, why, and how. If it can't fit on 1 page, it's too much. And that's it's been working.
It's so funny. This is like a pivot, but when you said Fisher Price, like I have a kid and I'm just thinking of like that Purple Monkey song like in my head now, like looping because you just said Fisher Price. It's just so funny. So I'm in the middle of my podcast, like singing a Purple Monkey in a bubblegum tree, singing in my head right now. So if you know that, and if you have a kick and play, you know that song is on loop all day.
All day. My kids are a little older now, so we're out of the Fisher Price, but you never forget that.
Yeah, that's it. I also am interested in, I know it's not necessarily your role, but like how does one like get approved to like that's a good look? Is there like a playbook that these certain locations are more valuable than other locations? Because obviously like that's part of the enticement of being in a franchise too, because you have done that research to know that certain locations, certain shopping centers, certain areas have certain demographics that will use this service.
Yeah, we have twofold. We have a real estate department. So we have a director of real estate. And from before you even sign a franchise agreement, we have to approve the territory, right? So between a hybrid of some data mapping tools that we use, not that just that showed, map of like physical real estate locations, but overlay demographics and then overlay our target customer profile to then understand literally heat mapping. This would be a red zone for us, like this is top territory, or this is yellow, maybe less exciting. And then really overlaying how many studios can this territory support. And so between our director of real estate and then our store opening team, coupled with the software that we use, that's how we pre-approve sites before we even sign a franchise agreement. Because we're not in the business. I know there's a lot of brands that talk about how many locations. Oh, we're at 500 locations. And that means either like sold or in development, but they've actually opened like 24. We're not in the business of selling franchises. We're in the business of opening studios. And so when we say 425, that is open and operating. That's not counting other licenses that we've sold that are in the pipeline ready to open. So I think that's really important differentiation is that oftentimes people will sell territories or states or blanket regions just to say, oh, we sold a 78 unit deal. Well, you gave somebody like the first right of refusals of Florida, and maybe they're going to develop it, and that could sustain 78 locations. That's not how we operate. We sell specific studios that we map and pre-approve in advance because that's how you avoid closures, right? We don't want to be oversaturating a market that can't support the stores. And we also want to put stores in a market where there's no need or demand for the service or enough to sustain a profitable store.
Yeah, it's like this. You don't want the subway model where it's like there's a subway everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. I do think that's like part of marketing because I do think like, for example, back in the day, like me and my wife used to do berries. And like, I always knew that like, if I was going to a city and I found where berries was, I knew that was probably a good part of the city because there's a berries there.
Yep.
And I think like you want to have that like association with your brand that like, or if that's the clientele, I'm not saying that's the clientele, but like if you want to be in places where like it's also like good areas that people want to visit when they are in that area, or it's like or neighborhoods that people are seen as great neighborhoods in that area. You don't want to just be in a random corner where people don't want to hang out.
That's right. Yeah, I think it's funny. Do you say Berry? Do you know we are owned by the same company as Berries? Is that why you bring berries into the combo? I don't know if you.
I might have brought berries in the combo for that reason, but I just wanted to say berries because I just know that sourcing is very good when it comes to like a berries location. And that's my point of reference of like a franchise brand.
That brings up 2 points though. One is that we try to be we like grocery anchored plazas because we are generally a weekly or multi-weekly service. So we want to go where boutique fitness is or where the grocery stores, places where people go regularly. To your point, if we're randomly out in some random location, nobody's going to come. Number 2 is that marketing to people, our target clientele, or I should say overall, our clientele is an older population. We see people, high school athletes and elite athletes, but we also see a lot of what we call seniors or retirees. One of the things I tell my overwhelmingly Gen Z marketing team is you're not marketing to yourself. You have to think about who we're marketing to. So I 1,000% agree with you. Berries, trendy location, good vibe. You know, if you're staying near a Berries, like it's a good spot. I tell my team all the time, you have to understand who's coming to our studios 3 times a week, and it's not you. Mm-hmm. So taking yourself out of the equation and really understanding who you're marketing to, like what would your mom or dad want? That's who we need to be talking about. And so I think that's just an interesting lesson for marketing is that when you're marketing a product or service that is not necessarily right in your demographic, it's just like stretching a different muscle.
Yeah, like berries are more younger, millennial,
young,
Gen
sexy,
Z,
beautiful, trendy.
Yeah,
that's not Stretch Zone.
And Stretch Zones is like more town center. like vibe where you're like, I'm going to
100%.
go sandwich shop and then I'm going to go get, and then I'm going to get stretch type vibe, where I can get everything at one place. I don't have to leave my area to do it.
That's right.
Yeah. Where Barry's is like in the hottest, one of the strips in the area that are nice, where there's like a Joe and the Juice and blah, 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 where like
That's
people
right.
can get that juice and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just shows like that's like different real estate's thinking about that. It's like thinking like, okay, for Barry's, we need to be in the hot area where younger people are and this
That's
foot
right.
traffic of younger people, and they're hanging out and they're going to Barry's and then they're walking to their apartment or whatever, where like if you're getting stretched, you're in a community or a suburb or where people, I mean, there could be me who's like the millennial trying to get stretched, but there's also that 80-year-old man. And what are those two people common? Usually in the suburb are going to like the local grocery store or the local coffee shop in their local town center. So
That's right.
I want to ask you also, because I asked everybody in this podcast, what's a marketing hill you would die on?
AI is not going to run your business for you.
I love that. I want to go deeper into like, I know I'm surprised we didn't even mention AI that much in this podcast because I've been talking about AI with everybody, but like
Makes me happy,
what have you seen people try to do in this space with AI that's like failing?
Like a lot. Our business, like you mentioned, your wife runs like e-com. I'm sure there are so many like AI executions in different parts of like the funnel and optimizations and reporting and KPI. We stretch people. We're a hands-on business, right? So when somebody calls, especially you mentioned our clientele, yeah, we've got younger people too, but when you're an older person who's calling, they want to know, are you to the right or the left of the CVS? Like when studios have tried AI front desk or sort of like AI auto response things for customer service, not good. It's very transparent that it's not them to the people that are calling. So that hasn't worked well. That's one of the things going rogue. Like that is not a corporate endorsed or sponsored thing. We'll start to get some complaints about something. And then I dig in and I figure out, oh, somebody tried to deploy an AI agent on top of like a software, but it's not quite connected right. And it just is a mess. From a marketing standpoint, we use it all the time, as I think everybody does, and that's fine. But our franchisees, to your point, if you think that they're not marketing experts, they're much less AI experts. And so the challenge is, it's just, they just go rogue for whatever it is, whether it's people try to create their own ads. The AI image of somebody on a table, the leg was actually broken sideways. Like, that's a problem. I can't have you advertising people with broken legs on the table. But
that would be so funny. It reminds me of like people who stitch together those to make like funny videos of someone breaking legs and stuff like that.
Literally, as we have our annual conference, and I have a slide that is like AI fails that I'm publicly posting. Be like, all of you in the room, is your work on this screen? Problem.
Yeah, I also think. I mean, I talk to a lot of people about AI, and it's just. Like the best AI needs a manager who gets what the AI is doing and is continually managing that AI.
That's
like,
right.
You can't just have an AI front desk person and nobody's managing that AI front desk person. Nobody's giving that AI front desk person feedback, even though it's AI. But like if someone's asking left or right, you could put those responses in and do that. But if nobody's managing it, the AI is going to say crazy stuff.
Right.
Problem. I don't know that answer. I don't know that answer. And that person's going to get very annoyed.
And then they're not going to come in. And then we're going to lose a member that we've paid to acquire, because how do you not know, to the 80-year-old, to your point earlier, that's driving it, how do you not know if you're to the left or the right of CVS? Like, what do you mean?
I think that's smart. I think highlighting fails and like wins of anything you're doing, like in marketing and conferences, of like, okay, yeah, if you're not doing this correctly and you don't know how to do this, please do not deploy it, because we've seen all these failures. We maybe can have a conversation about this or this and this, down the road because we've seen wins, but so like showing the wins and losses of things are always are like the failure points. And I bet that's like franchise marketing in like a nutshell is like failures, where it's
Literally.
like, so someone fails, you learn something and it becomes out of the playbook or like a lesson to tell every other franchise owner, please don't do this again.
Literally. That is,
yeah.
I have failed myself and witnessed many failures across the 425 locations. But for the AI thing, like a quick solve is like, okay, here, I can create a simple 1-page brand guide outside of our whole brand guidelines that you can just upload. So if you're going to go rogue and want to create some of your own content, like, okay, at least upload the brand guides that are correct and proper as a starting point. Right. So that's like an example of people going rogue, like, oh, there's an itch we should scratch. Right.
You literally at your conference should just like walk on stage and like crutches or something and just like start and be like, this is what happens when you go rogue and show the picture of like the person breaking
That's
their
hilarious.
leg.
The leg, like 90 degrees sideways.
Yeah, this is what happened when I went to this random stretching place that I wasn't Stretch Zone because I didn't improve as AI did. So
it's hilarious.
Where can people find what you're doing and follow your journey?
Yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm not a super over poster, but I'm pretty active there. And for anybody listening, if you haven't been stretched, shameless plug, go to stretchzone.com, find the location nearest you. First stretch is free.
Yeah, I need to do that. I think, I like a free offer to get me in the door because I will knock in the door if I can't try something. And because I don't want to I'm not the millennial. I'm the millennial that doesn't want to get locked into long-term things or like even pay for a month if I don't know if it's going to like make me feel better. So
and that's why we do it. We've received like pressure from franchisees over the years. We should charge for the first stretch. We want to have a barrier to entry. And I'm like, listen, if your studio is so packed that you can't accept new business, we'll talk about it then. But right now, having a free entry point, literally free, no credit card on file, nothing to try it out, I think is so meaningful to the business and just furthering the education of what we do and making it accessible.
Yeah, because I mean, especially we talked about referral marketing in the beginning. I think having an offer that you spend the cost of a first stretch in is like cheaper than spending like $500-$600 to try to get to like 2 or 3 customers in. So it's like you're spending like $50 on a referral or something where instead that you could have been like $150 to $300 because I mean you're doing the math on LTV and like sometimes it's worth it, but it's like it's way cheaper to just get someone to try the product for free. We used to do that at Snack Nation. We used to give like a 25 snack box free to every person. And it was like the best offer because they got to try the snacks. They knew the snacks were good. And then they bought the snack box because they knew we had good snacks. So
I spend a disproportionate amount of time explaining that math.
Yeah.
You're 1,000%.
I think people don't
right.
get the math, but it's like media output versus like this is not it's not like you're giving them $100,000 away. You're giving them away like $50, like or less.
And like it's multi-purpose because I say also if you've got staff on site, it's good like repetition and practice for them. No staff wants to be sitting at a job not working. So even if they're doing introductory stretches to people that are first time in the studio versus the member that they see 2 or 3 times a week, it's giving them something to do. They're not standing around, right? They're earning money for that stretch.
It's opportunity for them to build a relationship with someone that will come back and they'll have 100%. A full table. So totally get it. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I need to really go get a stretch because I'm that's one thing I am lacking is stretching, and I always think about it and I never do it. So
you and everybody else, I'm serious. You try it out. There's no. I'm holding you accountable now. You can't say no.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Good chatting.
Thanks so much for listening. Keep tuning in to hear more great insights from the coolest marketers from around the world. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and follow the Marketing Millennials podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you hear, I would greatly appreciate you giving us a 5-star rating. It helps bring more marketers into our community.